Hey guys, how's it going? Cosmic Turtle here, and thank you for joining me. So today I decided I'm going to do a video I've wanted to do for quite some time now. I was originally holding off on doing this until I got like a computer to do editing properly. But I feel if I don't do it now, I'm kind of never going to really do it, because I won't be getting a computer probably for the next 2 months at least. So it's a top 10, but it's not necessarily the top 10, if you get me. So this is a list of 10 games I would love to have a sequel or a remake. So these aren't like the top 10 games I could think of, but these are 10 games I think deserve them. So there's loads of other games I could put on this list, but the main focus for me is I had to have played the game, and they're games that not many people are necessarily talking about, like for sequels. For one reason or another, like one or two of the games on the list are quite new. So to start off with, like, there's no particular order for this list. It's just 10 games. Maybe like the final 2 or 3 would be the ones that I'd love the most, but for the most part they're all like equally desired games. So the first game is Viking. If you've played that, it's an old 360 game, which most of these are going to be like 360 timing, PS3 360, because that's when I got into gaming the most. So if you haven't played it, Viking is a third-person action game where you play as a Viking. And it's like a fantasy game because you fight like monsters, not like actual other Vikings. It's been a long time since I played it, and I bought it like a year or two like again because I just suddenly remembered about it and realised how great the game was. So if you haven't played it, it's a game you should definitely play. It's a really cool game. It can get a bit challenging and it can be a bit annoying when you because it's like an open world where you clear out bases as part of the thing is what you can do as well, like what is a common thing now, but I guess it wasn't as common then. It was probably just mainly Far Cry that was doing it. But it's a really interesting game, and I think it would, like, a sequel would be great because, you know, I love continuations of story, but I think this one would more benefit just from a remaster because the game itself was great. I can't remember how it ended, so I can't say like if the story could progress or continue. It's been too long to actually remember the story. So the next game is Lost Planet. So I know there are a few of these. I think there's 3 Lost Planets currently. And after like Monster Hunter coming out the other day, I just suddenly remembered it. You know, like the Arctic or just the snow setting generally. I think the later ones decided to leave the snow or have levels not in the snow. But those giant creatures that you could like fight or fight cooperatively to take down. And it was just such a great game. It was such a fun game to play co-op. And just the creatures, and I guess monsters, because not really creatures, were just outstanding. They were huge, and just the level of just like cooperation you could go into with the game with your friends was just so great. Like this was a game that I was introduced to through Xbox. Like a friend on Xbox told me about it because he loved it, and like his passion for it really got me into it. I believe number 3 came out or number 2 came out when he first told me about it. So I got number 3, played out of him, loved it, and then I went back and got the other 2. So I feel this is a game probably benefit more from a sequel since there are more than one. Next game is Marvel Ultimate Alliance. This one I don't think is going to happen just because of the Marvel Lego games. They're similar in what they do, but they're not the same by any means. So the Marvel Ultimate Alliance games are like a top-down action game where it has like light RPG elements, so your characters level up and you can equip to a degree like gear and stuff. It doesn't physically change like your Spider-Man or your Hulk or anything like that, but it makes them a bit more powerful and like their special attacks do more damage, stuff like that. But the reason why I don't think they will is just because of all the other like superhero games coming out at the moment, and it just doesn't feel like there's room for a number 3. But they did release remasters, I believe, like very terrible remasters of this game for the 360 for the Xbox One and PS4 about a year ago. So they're still on the list because they deserve real remasters, like proper effort into them or a number 3. So next we have Aliens Isolation, which this is, I believe, the most newest game on my list, which I'm sorry I have to turn because I got crap memory, I can't remember my list. So Aliens Isolation, which I'm not a big fan of horror games, but this game was just so fantastic. Like I loved how they recreated the feel of the movies and how just terrifying that alien was. And to a degree, to be fair, even the robots were terrifying at times. But I think if they do a sequel, there needs to be less androids. Because after a while, it just felt like I was running away from androids more than I was running away from the alien itself. But, you know, that like, it's a small problem. And the other one for me with that game was it felt like it was too long. It felt like I completed it like 3 times by the time I actually completed it. Because you always got to this mission where it was like, this is it. But then it wasn't. So I think if they do a sequel, because this one's definitely a sequel, not a remaster. So if they do a sequel, there needs to be more alien, as terrifying as it was, and less androids. And maybe make the story not feel like it's coming to a conclusion too often. It needs to feel, the end needs to feel like the end. And leading up to that, you can't have bits that, like when the spaceship gets blown in half, that felt like the ending, because it felt like the alien got stuck on the other half. No, you're safe. It was things like that. So next on the list, this one is a weird one. It's Saints Row 2. I think Saints Row 1 or 2, not 3 or 4, should have a remaster or a sequel. And by sequel to Saints Row 2, I don't mean like Saints Row 3. It'd have to be Saints Row 5. But go back to the more serious kind of gameplay, the more heavy, like, I know it's more similar to GTA at this point, but Saints Row 1 and 2 were just so much better. They were such like more, they were just just better games to play. They were more enjoyable, they were more fun. I know like the silliness of 3 kind of like 3 isn't as bad, because it was still kind of like Saints Row 1 and 2, because you still had the gangster theme, you still took over the city, but that's when it started getting a bit stupid, because you had the giant dildo bat the size of a leg, flipping jumping through car windows to get into them, and that, but that was kind of going into its own identity, I guess, with that. But Saints Row 4 I think is just silly. I liked it, but I don't think they should continue the franchise in that direction. I think they should go back to the more serious but silly gameplay of like Saints Row 2, fighting samurai with swords. Saints Row 2 was the pinnacle of Saints Row for me, and I think they should definitely go back to that, or remaster 1 and 2. Like maybe make it a classics remaster or something, So the next on my list is Crysis. I love Crysis. I got into it on Crysis 2. And I think the game is absolutely fantastic. The graphics are outstanding, like crazy for the time. Even now, Saints Row 3, sorry. People are probably going to mock me for that now, like they did about Dark Souls in my Darksiders video. Crysis 3, those graphics still hold up now. They're insane. And I'm not really sure what I think Crytek, I think they're called, I've really been up to as of recent. I know they made Rise, Son of Rome. I'm not sure what they did after that. Like I seen an interview where they said if they continue Crysis, it's going to be a free-to-play game. I really hope that is not the case. I really hope they make a full Crysis 4 campaign, like maybe online multiplayer. Probably it'd have to be at this point in gaming. Hopefully no microtransactions. But I definitely think a Crysis 4 is needed on the current generation. So let's have a look. Right, so we're getting down now to, I guess, my top 4 now. So I'm going to try and get these ones into an order. So number 4, we have Overlord. Now Overlord has a 1 and a 2, and on the Xbox One and I think PlayStation 4, there is a new Overlord game, but it's a download only, and it's just not the same. It's a very different game from the original 2. So Overlord 2 is like an action game. So it's a third-person action game, but unlike most action games, you have little minions that you can control. And you have, the minions come in 4 styles. So there's the brown, the green, the red, and the blue. The brown is just a standard brawler. He just uses melee weapons to kill things. The red one is a magic user. He uses fireballs. The green is an assassin, so he's poisonous and uses a blade. And the blue one is your healer, who will revive... No, I don't know if he revives. He will heal you. And I think he either brings back to a degree dead minions or just prevents them from dying. But it was a really interesting game. It was really fun. Like, it was like a dark version of Fable, at least number 1 was anyway, because it had that same kind of fairy tale vibe where you fought hobbits, you fought elves and dwarfs, so kind of Lord of the Rings-ish. And it was just so fun. Number 2 then took you like to an Arctic theme, where for some reason you could kill seals, and it was just such a great game. And the main part of the game was you played as the villain, not the hero for a change, and it was so refreshing. Like, obviously it's not culturally acceptable to be the villain in games for some reason. People don't really approve of it, but this game just got it so right. Running around killing Roman soldiers for some reason. It didn't matter what the reasons were. You know, you was the bad guy. You did what you wanted, and it was so fun. So next, I'm going to go for The Darkness 2, specifically. Because I know there's a number 1, but I didn't really get into 1, and I loved number 2, and I think they should definitely make a 3 where they continue that style of gameplay. Where you had, so it's a first-person shooter, but not just your weapons, you also had like tendrils, which you could use to glory kill people, I guess. Like, you could rip their heart out, like rip them in half and all crazy stuff like that. But then you also had the core first-person shooter aspect of the game, and it was just a fun game. It's based off a comic book series, is The Darkness. I haven't read the series. It's one I've been meaning to get into, but I haven't. So I feel, and it was like a cartoon style graphics to it, like the art style. So it didn't feel too realistic when he was doing like all these like grim killings. And again, I don't feel like there's enough variety of shooters at the moment, because, you know, it's kind of just like realistic shooter or Borderlands, at least from my perspective. Like, I don't play shooters all that much anymore. But like, you can either get like the realistic one, the really silly cartoony one like Borderlands, or the in-between kind of like Deus Ex, which isn't really a shooter, but it's like futuristic, a bit over the top. So I think there's definitely room for a shooter like this, or another one that could have taken this sort of spot, I guess, would be Fear, like Fear 3, which is another game, like, not it's just not a serious shooter, you know, like it has like the special powers and all this kind of stuff. I won't go into Fear though, because that's not on my list. Maybe a different video I'll talk about Fear. So number 2, we have a game called Rage, which, if you've never played Rage, you should definitely play it. It's made by id Software, the people who've made Wolfenstein, Doom, you know, so like they created the first person shooter with Doom, so, you know, they know what they're doing. And this game is no different. It's a fantastic shooter. So it's like a campaign shooter. So you have an overarching story that you follow. It's an open world, kind of. Like, so you have an open world and you go into level scenarios, I believe. I'm not sure how seamlessly it goes into the levels though. But it's just a really fun, like, over-the-top, kind of like Borderlands shooter, but more realistic looking. And it's a post-apocalyptic shooter. Came out in that time where everything was going apocalyptic. And I can't remember the actor's name, but in the game there's also the guy who voiced Sully in Monsters Inc., and I believe he's also the guy who done Fred Flintstone in the Flintstones movie. Which is really cool. Yeah, so it's just like a really fun, over-the-top game. You have you have your standard guns. I think you have your silly guns as well. But your character also has like a boomerang, like what do you call it? It's not a standard boomerang with just the 2 ends. It's a triple boomerang, so kind of like a Batman kind of boomerang, a modified one. Really fun game, really cool. I think that is a game that could benefit from a sequel opposed to a remake, just to expand on the universe that they started. And with the success of Wolfenstein and Doom, You know, there's no reason to doubt that they might expand their what's it called? What do you call it? Fuck. Their library, I guess, like their modern library. Because at the moment it's kind of just two of their franchises. So it'd be nice for them to add some more of their older franchise or newer franchises, rather than just bring back the really old ones, you know. And the number one game on my list is Kingdoms of Amalur. So if any of you are a fan of Outside Xbox or Outside Extra, you kind of already know what this game is. Like the Outside Extra host Ellen talks about this quite a lot, like when it comes up. And they also done 2 videos of them actually playing it, of Ellen and what's his name? Luke, and Luke playing it. But like this game, I pre-ordered this. I got this day one. It is an amazing game. It's a third-person RPG, like action adventure, similar to Fable, but not like Fable. But also similar to like Skyrim, but not like Skyrim. So it has like all the lore, all the books, and all this kind of things like Skyrim has. But it has more of a Fable sort of art style of it being more cartoony, and like the magic attacks are more centered on a button opposed to equip your fire to use fire. So it's a good combination of the 2 games. One of the writers for this game done Oblivion. There's also apparently a famous author in the involved in this as well, but I'm not too sure who he was or who he is now, because I just can't remember. But this game, I don't know, it was just such a fantastic game. The DLC for the game was great. It had like the whole build your own house thing, and that came out around, I think that actually came out before Skyrim did the what's it called? Halfstead or whatever it was called, where you could build your own house in Skyrim. So I'm 90% certain this game actually done it first. But just no one played it really. The company went bust. So the only way this is going to happen is if someone else takes the risk to bring the franchise back, knowing it didn't really do that great in the first place. But it deserves it, because the gameplay was there, the story was there. Just the game is amazing, it's fantastic. Just it didn't stick, kind of thing. Or people were still too busy playing Skyrim, and it just got very unlucky. So that is my list. Let me know in the comments games you'd love to have a remaster or a sequel to. Like, there are obviously plenty of other games like BioShock, Fallout, but these are games that are more likely to have sequels at some point. Like BioShock is apparently confirmed now. Fallout is obviously going to be a new one. There'll obviously be a new Elder Scrolls, and you know the list goes on. Resident Evil. There's tons of great games that will get sequels, so that's why those games weren't on my list. And also, I don't think these games get enough attention. Like, people don't really mention them or talk about them, and I think they deserve it. But I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like. If you agree with my list, leave a like as well. Subscribe for more daily content like this. I'm hoping to expand my channel to have more videos like this more frequently, as well as my gameplay videos. Please take care, and I'll catch you in the next video.